What's up, guys? Justin here for Team Shenanigans, and today I will be bringing you guys my Legend World, like updated Legend World hero deck. As you can see, my buddy's Merlin, and I bounced around between Merlin and Brynhildr being the buddy for a while now, because honestly, they're both just amazing cards, but I love Brynhildr's art better. But with our new toy of Fleeting Dream we got in the Inverse set, Merlin's a lot more optimal now because you can search him out. So he's the buddy for now. So let's go ahead and jump into the deck profile. This is for like the upcoming meta right now with uh, Black Dragons and Sun Dragons, all the easy destruction in the meta via monster effects. Size threes are going to be size 3 base decks are going to be harder to run, and that was one of the biggest problems this deck. You know, this deck would have like a pretty tough matchup against like Raging Spirits. So I really feel like this deck's gonna be a little better again. Because I really wasn't too confident in it like going into the last regionals, which is why I took 72 pillars. But on to the build. Right now I'm running 4 Oberon. Oberon really just to negate those pesky monster effects. You're able to set up your drop zone a lot quicker now. So, and even opening up with an Oberon and just plopping him down in the center and getting that free the double attack, 9k power 2 crit, excuse me, 7k defense for just 2 gauge is really good, and a lot of decks can have a hard time getting over that defense. So your opponent goes first, you go second, and just double attack him with the Oberon, and a lot of times they have to link attack with everything on the next turn just to get over him. But I know as we go into the next format, there's going to be a lot stronger monsters and everything, but Oberon nullifying all their effects makes it to where they, like Black Dragons, can't pop them by their monster effects, and their effects that give them power don't work either, so they can't get over them. So they're still forced to link attack him, and if you have him on the side, you can still protect him with a Holy Grail or Scorner Gremlin. And you also run 4, so you don't necessarily have to protect him. You can just let them kill him and then drop another one next turn. So Oberon's still amazing. Of course, there's always going to be those things that get around him, like spells that destroy him and stuff like that. And Star Dragon World can give him a bit of a problem because they can pop him with their effects of the Drago Arms and the Soul, because some of them don't give the effects to the monster for Oberon to nullify. Their effects are activating in Soul, and since they're on the field, Oberon can't do crap about it. Cerberus SD is also a big problem too, because his effect activates from Soul. So that's one card that Danger World plays usually at 3 or 4 of in Armor Knights, and it can really screw you over. But he's still OP. He's Oberon. It's Legend Heroes, and you have to play him. I choose to play him at 4, but you can play him at 3. You know, whatever your playstyle is. I would just rather have extras. Onto the size 2s, I run 4 Brynhildr because Brynhildr is the best size 2 hero. Simple as that. It's you get move and soul guard for 1 gauge on a 5k 2 crit 3k body. So there's nothing better to play right now, and even when we do come, if they finally do give us better size 2s, I feel like Brynhildr will always have a spot in the deck. Unless they come out with something that just does her role better. The next size 2 is your Zlatarogs, because free gauge is amazing and this deck needs it. And he's just a great turn 1 play. He synergizes with a Fleeting Dream because the size 2 or higher you call out doesn't have to be hero. So Zlatarog will not only give you gauge, but also search something out if you have the set spell set. So Zlatarog's great, and it's better to run him and have a monster than run like the fairy spell that gives you gauge that we got as a promo at regionals, unless it's like a pure fairy deck, because that card is fairy attribute, so it can help in that regard to open up effects. But I still prefer Zlatarog because it feels like he's fulfilling 2 purposes. He's being offensive while granting you your resources. Onto the size 1s. run 4 Merlin, of course, because it's the buddy. And Merlin is an amazing card. He's a 2k power, 2 crit, 1k defense, and his effect is Incubus Blood. You pay once per turn per copy of him you have on the field, so you can activate the effect of one and then call another one and do it again. You just can't use the same one twice. You pay a gauge, discard any hero card from your hand, search the top 5 cards of the deck, add up to 2 hero spells or items from among them to your hand. So he's your plussing engine of the deck, and he combos well with all it all, so you don't actually waste any resources at all. You're doing nothing but plussing. And there's a lot of, as you can see, there's a lot of hero, spell, and item attribute cards for him to search out. So you're rarely going to whiff off of him, and you really will get 2 cards off of him quite often. So he's really good. Next, you run 2 Fairy Knight. It's you can really put anything in this slot. I just prefer the 6k power. Excuse me. The only thing I don't like about this card is that it can't be called a center, so it's a really bad opening turn play because it can leave you really vulnerable. But the 6k power is nice to get over things, and I mean you can run a Beowulf, you can run Beowulfs, you can run extra Gareths, you can run Gawains or anything like that if you prefer. But I just like the power. And speaking of Gareth, I run 2 of him. He's just the generic mover, nothing special. And then on the size zeros for All because All is amazing. It's nice to have a size 0 in the deck that you can call out with a Fleeting Dream when you play your Oberon. But his main purpose, honestly, is just to discard him with Merlin. Because when All is discarded, you gauge the top card of your deck and draw one. So you play your Merlin, you pay a gauge, you discard All. You finish resolving Merlin's effect, look at the top 5 cards, add up to 2 hero attribute spell or items to your hand, and then All effect triggers. Since you discarded him, you gain a gauge and draw a card. So you lost nothing off Merlin. Even if you whiff and you reveal nothing but monsters and non-hero spells, you still didn't lose anything because All effect completely reimburses you for everything, for all of Merlin's costs. So it's an amazing card. Next on to the items, which is probably the most important part of Legend World. You run 2 Excalibur because there's really no point in running any more than 2. 1's not enough, 3's too many, 2's the perfect number. 3k power, 3 crit, 10k power, equipment change, and double attack, and the effect that it can't be nullified by cards with shield in the name. So Dragon World Cries. So you have to of course discard a Holy Grail while you have 10 or more heroes in the drop to even equip this. But so it used to be not quite as playable. It kind of fell off there for a little while. But just due to the tutoring ability of a Fleeting Dream and being able to call out your size 1s, and it really call out your Merlins a lot quicker using Merlin's skill, you're able to get to that threshold pretty easily. So it's a great card. It's basically just your other boss card besides Oberon. When you have these 2 things on the field, it's amazing. It can be counter destroyed, which really sucks, but you can kind of, a lot of times your opponent will usually use their counter destruction early game on your other weapons because they're also really annoying. Not to you, of course. To me, I love them, but to your opponent, they're going to be really annoying. You run 2 Cleric. It's 5k power, 2 crit, and it costs a gauge, which kind of sucks in such a gauge-heavy deck, but it's pretty much well worth it. Its effect is when it deals damage to your opponent and you have 4 more different heroes in the drop, you get to pop an item. So it's really good. Just a good anti-meta card. It can help kind of slow down Dungeon World. It can really any deck. Once you pop the one item they have on the field, if they don't already have another one in hand or a way to search one out, it can really hinder the deck. Moving on, have 3 Gungnir, your 5k power, 2 crit with Penetrate. Free to equip, but at the beginning of your turn, if you're still equipped into this item, you have to take a damage. So it kind of balances out the cost, but you're very rarely going to equip this and not have a Pridwen in hand. You really only want to equip this if you have a Pridwen in hand, just to keep from taking the damage, unless you absolutely have to and you're just having terrible luck. But that's why you run 3 Pridwen. Pridwen is not only a great combo with Gungnir to keep from taking that damage off Gungnir, but is your pseudo backup shield. If you don't know what it does, it's a equipment change counter, so you can equip into it at any point, like during your opponent's turn when they're attacking you or anything like that. And while you're equipped into this, you can pay 2 gauge and reduce damage you would take by 2. So it's really costly in the 2 gauge because, like I said, the deck is very gauge heavy. But this is why you run like your Osweir guards and your Zlatarogs and your Alwadals to kind of up your gauge to where you can have this when you need it. You don't want to spam it. It's not your main source of defense, but it's a good backup and it's good for like attacks that can't be nullified. And it can also reduce effect damage, impact damage, and stuff like that. Besides, of course, impacts that can't be reduced. So it's a really good card, and of course, like I said, combos well with Gungnir. When your opponent goes into their final phase, goes to end their final phase, or goes into their final phase, you just counter equip into Pridwen, so you're not equipped into Gungnir at the beginning of your turn. Then you don't have to take that damage. And also, of course, if you're equipped into any of these items and your opponent goes to pop your item, you can counter equip into Pridwen, and now their target isn't there anymore. They don't even get to pop your Pridwen. So it's really there to save your items. You don't, you can't really, unless you have an extra Grell in hand, it makes it a lot harder to save your Excalibur. But if they're gonna waste time, if they're gonna use resources to pop your Excalibur, and whatever, you just go in the Gungnir and clear it. Because equipment change is such a wonderful thing. When we equip over our items in Legend World, they just go back to our hand. So it's amazing. Onto the spells. Run 3 A Fleeting Dream. It's a set spell. It costs 1 gauge to play on the field. And then once per turn, when you call a size 2 or higher Legend World monster, doesn't have to be a hero, you search your deck for a size 1 or less hero and call it to the field by paying its call cost. So this is what Legend World Heroes really needed. Just really helps the consistency of the deck. It's also a hero attribute, so you can grab it off Merlin. So amazing, amazing, amazing card. And then next you of course run your 4 Holy Grail, which is your, if you have an open center, nullify the attack, and it's also the one card that can unlock Excalibur for you. And then you run your 3 Scorner Gremlin, just because you need extra attack nulls in this deck, and Scorner Gremlin is your Solomon Shield clone, nullifies any attack if it's not a link attack. So if you're going up against like a heavy penetrate deck, and you move Brynhildr to the center, you can just nullify their penetrate attack with Scorner Gremlin. And using Scorn also prevents you from wasting your Grails when you don't want to, so you can save them for your Excalibur play. Next I run through Osweir Guard. Osweir Guard is still an amazing card. It is, the cast cost is put a monster on your field into the drop, and then you gauge top card of your deck and draw a card. So this is your best answer to Penetrate, besides Scorn. Just because if you move Brynhildr or Gareth to the center, they attack with Penetrate, or they do something to give their monster Penetrate, they can nullify this card if they want to. But since putting the monster in the drop is the cast cost, they're still not going to get their Penetrate off, which really helps. And of course, it replaces itself with the card you drew in your hand, and it basically turns the monster on your field into gauge. So the excess gauge is really, really nice. And it helps you draw through the deck. The last card of the deck is I run 3 Caliburn Grief. It is pay 2 gauge. If you have 4 more different heroes in your drop, you destroy all monsters and set spells on the field. So it's a really devastating play if your opponent has a pesky monster with Soul Guard and you weren't able to kill it with Oberon on your turn, and Oberon skills life. Uh, they go into their turn, your first opportune point, if they're threatening for game, you can Cavern Grief, and Oberon's negating all their Soul Guard and all their other effects, so their monster can't save itself. So Cavern Grief is an amazing card. It really punishes Dungeon World. It punishes Skull Warriors, Purgatory Knights, any type of Hero World Rush deck like Quartet 5 or Dark Heroes. So it's a really, really good card. The only bad thing about it is it doesn't pop items, so you would probably side this out against like Kaiserian and stuff like that for Nemesis Thunders. But it's still just a really amazing card, and the fact it's an impact and they can't use their spell nulls on it really helps too. So that's my updated deck, guys. Sorry for the long video, but I wanted to go into some explanations. If you have any questions, please post them below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't. And stay tuned for more Buddy Fight and Card Fight Vanguard content. Thanks for watching, guys.